Bodybuilding for me it's like a way of life. True bodybuilding is self-discipline and self-mastery at the highest level. There's a spiritual aspect to it that is very hard to explain unless someone has gone through a contest prep themselves. I'm food deprived, but I still have to train, still have to stay dedicated to this cause to be able to deny yourself of the pleasures of life in order to achieve a certain goal. It all kind of started with bodybuilding, specifically competitive bodybuilding. Towards my senior year of high school, I did track, I played football. I was an active kid, but I was never like big, you know. And it all started for me like senior year of high school. I went to a gym in my town, and I met a bodybuilder there, and he was prepping for a show, and I had never seen someone that big in my life. And that was when I realized that this is a possibility. This is something that someone can do. And the first thing that came to my mind is I want to look like that. So, being the cocky little kid I am, I approached him and I said, hey, how do I look like that? How do I get big arms? Which now I'm, where I am today. That's the one thing you don't just go ask a bodybuilder, right? What he's supposed to tell you. But he was nice enough, and he was basically like, kid, you got to train hard, eat the whole shebang. And I would see him in the gym from time to time, and I would basically copy what he was doing. And over time, uh, I fell in love with it. I found pumping iron. That was my main intro into actual competitive bodybuilding, to know what it was about. And that taught me, the basics of what competitive bodybuilding was. So in 2016, I decided to go into a bodybuilding show. I was still a little bit smaller at the time, around like 200 pounds. But I ended up doing that show. It was like a back end show in New York somewhere. I ended up winning it. I won the novice class at that show, and then I took a hiatus. Getting out of college as a young adult, you're kind of trying to find yourself. Then the pandemic happened, and I realized at that point, if someone that's always active, not being able to do it to the capacity that I wanted, it made me realize that, wow, this is something that I really love. And if bodybuilding was to end for me today, I've done nothing. So I told myself, when things open back up, I'm going to step on a bodybuilding stage, and I'm going to see how I can take this as far as I can go. You do it for you. You know what I mean? Like, you do it for you when you don't ever think that you're going to get to this point where this is something that other people start to view your way of life. It's sort of like this thing that you did for yourself, but now the way you've expressed your way of living is now becoming something that other people can tap into to get motivation and live their own lives. It didn't register till I think this year, when I went to the Arnold with Animal, and just seeing people coming up to me that, oh, I've seen you on YouTube, I've seen you, can you sign an autograph for me? It didn't register. Like, I've always just thought, okay, I'm a pro bodybuilder, this is kind of my thing, whatever happens, happens. Leave that impression on people. It kind of dawned on me that, like, wow, I'm here. It didn't register till then. And it's a good feeling, but at the same time, it also gives you a sense of pressure. I don't want to let these people down. This is something I've been doing for me, but now there's a whole other subset of people that want to see this journey that I'm going through and want to see it to the end when you hit that summit. And the question is always, do you get to the summit or not? And that's a question that I ponder myself. Being my pro debut at New York, I don't know how it's going to go, but what I do know is that it is the first step in climbing to that summit of bodybuilding. you don't go through a prep looking for motivation. Newsflash, the motivation's not there. The motivation dies after 5 weeks. Once you've been going through 40 to 90 minutes of cardio every single day, the first 2 weeks, it's great. By week 7, week 8, you know, that's 42 days of just doing that straight. Like, forget the prep. Think about off season, right? You're done with your contests, whatever you placed or whatever. Okay, now I can go ahead and eat pizzas all day if I want to. You can't. That's not bodybuilding. You're not a bodybuilder. It doesn't matter what season you're in. You do it because that's the way you live your life. Physiologically, you feel very different in a prep versus when you're in contests. For context, I was 285 pounds at the peak of my off season. I do not feel ready to run on a treadmill or be on a stairmaster, right? I'm sluggish. I'm eating all day, and it got to a point where I would walk around the block with my girlfriend, and I'm like starting to feel out of gas, So mentally, the switch, it's gradual. Your diet's the same, everything's the same, but now, the cardio, maybe you're pushing a little bit harder. The prep in the off season, I could get away with doing on a stairmaster, doing level 4 on a stairmaster, right? In a prep, I need to raise my heart rate. You're going level 7. It's gonna suck for the first couple of weeks, but it gets better. And of course, if you have a free meal here and there, maybe go out with the girlfriend for dinner or something like that, those get taken out too. That's where the shift comes. But honestly, the shift starts to really come when you start seeing the results. When the fat starts to drop, you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, you've got some veins, you're like, okay, yeah, let's keep going. Again, I have a goal where I need to get to. These are the things that I need to do to make sure I get to that goal. And every single day, as long as I hit those check boxes, I know that I'm going to get there, because there's nothing worse than getting to that final place and saying I wasn't prepared. People don't talk about this a lot, but every amateur bodybuilder goes through this at some point. Even pros till today still go through this at some point, which is that question of, do I have it? Do I actually have it? You see those questions all the time online, like, someone will send you a picture of themselves and they're like, do you think I have it for bodybuilding? And you never really know. That question was always there. People have always told me since I was like 18 years old, like, dude, you're jacked. I've been muscular my whole life. But me personally, like comparing to like a Rolly or an Arnold, I was like, I could never be there, so I didn't know if I had it. The first time I really felt like I actually had it was Nationals 22, when I actually placed 8th at that show. I lost the show, I didn't turn pro, but I won the show, in a sense that coming out of Nationals, I was the guy everyone was talking about. They were like, did you see that kid at Nationals? He looked crazy. Like, if he was in more condition, he would have won the whole thing. I had judges coming to me, telling me, if you come in condition, this is your show to lose, and you lost the show because you weren't at your best. That was the time where, for me, it was kind of like, okay, I have something here. It's not just the gym. This is something that people in the industry can see that there's something there. It's one thing to win your show, especially now in today's climate in bodybuilding. For those that don't know, you can turn pro 2 ways. You turn pro by either winning the overall at the show, which was how it was done back in Evan's time. So there was only one pro card that was given out per national show, or you win your class. So there's, the heavyweight class, super class, bantam class. When you win the overall, it's basically saying that is the guy that, no matter what space or time that this show occurred, he was the guy that was going pro. So there's no questions on your legitimacy. And that was how I achieved mine. In the amateur ranks, conditioning is the name of the game, right? Like, if you come in peeled as you can, you're guaranteed to have some kind of top spot, because people have problems getting in condition. In the pro ranks, you're conditioned, but you also have to be as big and full as possible. It's a combination that is very, very hard to achieve. Champions are made in the off season. This was my first time I treated my off season literally like I was in prep, and I saw the changes. Before this, I had heard, Ronnie Coleman had done something very similar the year between 96 and 97, where he put on about 30 pounds of stage weight. And the difference was that he had just kept his offseason like a prep when he started working with Chad Nichols. So this is no secret. It's just when you talk to a lot of people, this isn't something that's done very often. So if you're trying to take things to the next level, give yourself at least 9 to 10 months and treat your offseason like a prep. I promise you, you are going to make gains. It's going to change your physique just like it did for mine. Something that I wasn't doing as much in the amateurs that we're doing now is, we're having a lot more higher days. So we deplete meat for a couple of days, then I have a couple of higher days to refeed. So essentially higher carb days where I can get some more energy. So the whole point is for me not to just wither away. The best case scenario is to win. The second best case scenario is to come top callouts. The worst case scenario is to be out of the top callouts, right? Anything past top 5 is a loss, essentially. I've lost one show my entire life as a bodybuilder. So to go from a mindset where you've never really lost a show to now having to accept that every show you're going to do, you're not potentially the guy to win at this point, psychologically, I've had to reinforce that into myself over the last couple of months. In the amateurs, the difference between first place and third place is like 40%. You come out and you know who's winning the show in the amateurs. In the pros, it's like 10% increments, differences, 5%. That guy that had 2 burgers instead of 1 to peak, that shifted him from second place to 5th. It's very, very minute differences. So precision is very, very important in the pro ranks. Winning is the ultimate prize, right? But we're also aware that even if we don't win, it's not necessarily a loss at this show. It's your pro debut. Statistically, how many people win your pro debut? In the last 4-5 years, there's been 2 people, Justin Shire, who won Chicago, and Andrew Jacked, who won Texas. Nick Walker didn't even win his first pro show. He did Chicago and he came 6th or 7th. So you look at it statistically, the odds are not really in your favor. If someone told me 2 years ago, or like when I first started in 2021 doing the Delaware State, that I would be with Animal going as a pro bodybuilder competing, I would have said, get out of here. It's what are they gonna see in me? I'm a nobody, And to be at that place now, it's almost validating in a sense that like a company of Animal stature has recognized that this is someone that is doing the work. They're living the life, right? Animal, one of their mottos is built, not born, right? So this is something that was built, and they're continuing to build towards that, and we want to be a part of that process. In the morning, I start my day, I use Animal Cuts. My post-workout meal, Animal Whey Protein, it's a staple of my diet. I've been using that for well before I even started with Animal. Pre-workouts, Primal, my flavor of choice. Even during my workday, I use the Animal Energy Chews. These things are huge quality of life improvements for me. And, just having a company like Animal being able to back me, and to basically use every single product in their arsenal to make sure that I get the best results possible coming into this show is a huge, huge burden. Not just from a psychological, but financial as well. I've been following Animal since I was a kid. The Big on a Budget series, Evans, The Process. I watched all that stuff, Jason Ha. I watched all that stuff. And like I said, there's the Evan Centopani, there's the John Jewett. This is like the 3rd generation of Animal. That's the way I see it. So I'm the 3rd generation of Animal bodybuilding. And I really want to show you guys what this new generation can do as well. I've had a lot of chances to talk and just pick the mind of a legend, right? I call him Uncle Evan. That's what I call him because, everything he says carries a lot of weight. And then John, we've never really had the chance to sit down and just like get to really, really, really bond. And this Arnold, we finally got that chance. I spent a lot of time with John Jewett. He's an extremely smart individual. No one tells you about this, but he's extremely kind as well. People don't say that a lot. He's extremely kind. These are guys that have done this before me, and I highly respect them in the industry. You know, Evan's career, you guys all know Evan's career. John is in uncharted waters where he has gone from the 212 and solidified himself as an open bodybuilder. So these are two generations of animal and two generations of bodybuilders that me as a new pro, I can learn something from. I wasn't going to shy away from an opportunity like that to be in the same place with them and get them to give me some critique on where I'm going. John, he gave me very, very good cues, especially when it comes to the quarter turns, pushing the adductor against the hamstring. I've been doing that a lot. You guys will see like my shots prior to the Arnold. The quarter turns, I was kind of standing a little bit straight. He told me, use the other leg to push against that adductor so that the hamstring kind of pushes out. I started doing that a lot now. It looks a ton better. And also, Evan said he really liked the crab, most muscular. I wasn't doing it before because, I like the standing Kevin Levrone style, but Evan likes that one. Even my coach said, if Evan says it looks good, we got to do it. So I've been doing the crab most muscular as well, since Evan said that. So their words carry weights, and, I'm still trying to check in with them from time to time, just to see where I'm going with the prep and give me some cues, because, these are guys that have done this before me that I highly, highly respect.